Hi, I'd like to introduce myself, Ruth Page Jones, candidate for the 97th Assembly representing most of the city of Waukesha and part of the town of Waukesha. I have entered this race because I believe Waukesha needs a representative who will put Waukesha first. Someone who has a multifaceted background, has a history of being able to solve problems, and is really going to focus on the issues that matter to the people of Waukesha, and not the special interests who don't live here but support someone else's campaign. I am running because I recognize that the people here in the 97th are struggling with the cost of living while our wages just aren't moving. We know that the cost of gas, the cost of our food is going up. Some of us are worried about losing our jobs. Some of us are worried about losing our homes. And we need to have trust that the person representing us is going to be concerned about those issues and see at the state level what kind of legislation we can work on that move us into a more optimistic future. We've seen the free fall of the free market, and as I said earlier, that makes us concerned about our jobs, our homes, and our future retirement. I'd like to give you a little bit of information about my background. Currently, I am executive director of a small nonprofit that helps families at Christmas time make sure their kids get gifts when they're from a low-income family. I also have 18 years in the information technology field as a computer security expert. Actually, one of my titles at one time was Global Specialty Manager, so I do have experience working in the global field. And as a result of having this computer security background and the technology background, I have worked on strategic planning issues in multinational corporations. I have learned how to do problem solving in the sense that you need to be open-minded when you start solving a problem. You need to look at the pros, you need to look at the cons, and when you evaluate solutions, you have to look at both the cost and the benefit, not only in dollars, but in some of those intangibles, in terms of what effect they have on the quality of life. Because I have this background in corporate America as an employee, and as part of that IT field that I was career-wise in, I also owned my own company. I work in a nonprofit, and I've also been a leader in the community in terms of advocating through Project ABC for good public schools. So I have leadership in the community, I have experience in a nonprofit, I've worked in corporate America, and I've owned my own business. And I think all of that brings to the table a real balanced perspective and an ability to look at things from a lot of different people's point of view and to try and achieve results that bring common ground and actually work for the people who live here. Some of the issues that are very important in this race are jobs and economy. We know that for an optimistic future in Wisconsin, we need to have better paying jobs. One of the bills that I would support that my opponent didn't is the American Job Act that says that we need to keep the jobs here in Wisconsin and that when the state is issuing contracts, they should go to Wisconsin companies, not companies that are sending jobs overseas. We need to fund our infrastructure, those things that we pay our tax dollars for, that we expect to have good services, and that is highways that don't crumble, bridges that stay up, roads in our city that aren't full of potholes. We know that we want good public safety, we want a sufficient police force, we want good response from our fire department, and we want an education that prepares our children for the future. Not just for their future, but for our future, supplying the workforce that we need that's prepared for the new economy. We also know that healthcare is a big issue. You know, I talked to a doctor once who told me that he has a patient who has chronic asthma, and she can get insurance for everything that isn't caused by the asthma, so she can't get her asthma treatment. Now that has to create higher costs for her treatment than if we took care of the preventative care. And as a legislator, I would work on health care reform that made sure we did preventative care, which is a whole lot cheaper than emergency room care, and that also worked on wellness programs. And finally, we need to talk about tax reform. We need tax reform that cuts taxes for middle-class families, that makes sure we have the ability to to have fewer taxes that we can then spend on those things that are increasing our cost of living. I am asking for your vote in November because I believe that I will be the best representative for this community, because in all of the issues that I would be dealing in, I would be looking at them independently, as nonpartisanly, and making sure that I always put Waukesha first.